Welcome to the What Makes Us Human podcast with your expert hosts, Pia Johnson,
narcissistic mothers. That's a juicy topic.
Ayana McNeil,
and I want to talk about the P word, polygamy.
TJ Volcane.
All those years, I never realized the value of lived experience, right?
So whether you're a psychology enthusiast, a curious mind, or just someone who's intrigued by the human condition, this podcast is for you.
Oh, Lord, Pia, we gonna get into it.
Hey, girl.
What's up? We're excited to be back again for another episode. Yes. And you know what, T? Let's start off with what you got. What we got going on over here, T? How are we starting?
So I am so excited about our new segment that we decided to introduce.
Yes.
It's called Dear Aunties. And it's a segment where we are going to be accepting letters from our viewers. So if you guys have anything that you want to talk about or something that you're battling, like a struggle or a challenge, and you want to hear the opinion of mental health professionals, here's your opportunity to do so. You can write us at whatmakesushumanpodcast@gmail.com, and we will be very prompt in our response. I promise. There's 3 of us. And so I have the first letter and I will be reading it. We're going to be reflecting on it. And I can't wait. I'm excited. All right. So, Dear Aunties, I'm a 24-year-old woman and I feel trapped. Help me. I'm a full-time caregiver to my mother who's disabled. I also work full-time and I feel like taking care of my mother is a second full-time job. I go over to her house every day to bathe her, cook, clean, and give her medication. I'm frustrated because I feel like my family should be helping out and doing more. My father doesn't want to cook or clean. My brother and I created a weekly schedule that split the days up between us, and now he told me he can't commit to the schedule and has stopped coming over to help and stopped answering my calls. I've been trying to do some things for myself, like go to the gym and started therapy, but I feel like all my family sees me as is a caregiver and nothing more. I feel trapped. Please help. Whew. Okay. So let me just say I've been there. I've been there where I felt trapped, where I felt like I didn't have any options. And this is all based on the people that were around me, right? And for me, what freed me from that was self-love. This woman is talking about a hard situation. This is someone that she loves, her mom. Obviously, she wants to be there for her, but you can't be no good to your mom if you're not first good to yourself. Mm-hmm. What kind of support is she going to be able, let me talk to her directly. What kind of support are you going to be able to give if you are not properly supporting yourself? And more particularly, your mental health. I am a person that is big on boundaries. I love to let people know what they are allowed to do with me and what they're not allowed to do with me, right? This is why I'm able to maintain happiness and peace. And mom or not, I'm not going to let nobody come in my life and disturb my peace. So for me, it's about doing what you can and rebranding who you are to the world, right? People see you as a caregiver. It's because that's what you are. It's what you've been allowed to be utilized as, right? And so how do you want them to see you? That's up to you based on how you present yourself to the world. I'm gonna let you answer now, Ayana.
Oh, go ahead. Pia got it first. I'm still thinking. That's a tough letter. Y'all listen. Okay. Pia, go ahead.
So for me, I think I started thinking in immediate practical help, right? So what came to mind for me was I know Dad and her brother aren't helping out physically. Can they help out financially? So if they can help out financially, we can do meal delivery services, right? Use meal delivery, grocery services to kind of reduce the amount of time that she spends cooking and shopping for her mom, right? Some kind of medication management where she can set up the medication delivery. Most pharmacies, right? CVS, all these pharmacies you can set up like a delivery for your medications, just to make sure that her mom is getting her medications. And once again, she's not the one consistently being involved, running back and forth, right, to get medication. Also, I don't know, cleaning services, housekeeping. We don't have to do weekly. We can do bi-weekly or monthly, but just and she can pick up in between the times that the housekeeper is not there. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
if they did bi-weekly, one week she can do it, the next week, they have somebody to come in. Also, if her mom is disabled, she has doctors. Speaking to the doctor about connecting her with the social worker. And then from there, the social worker can connect her to case management services. With
Mm-hmm.
case management services, they can help her to kind of navigate mom's doctor's appointments, even connect her to free meal service deliveries, right? I've done it. It's just a piece of paper to fill out. I've done it and I've received it, right? It's just a piece of paper you fill out, and I know you have um, God's helping hands, or God help it's different
Kind of, you're
organizations,
like
right?
Meals on Wheels. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, exactly. Call 311. 311 can give you, if she's in New York, call 311. They can give you a whole list of resources
Yeah.
that her mother will probably be eligible for. Yeah, and that's where my mind went with that.
Okay. I mean, you know what? I appreciate both of your responses because it's a combination of what I was thinking about. Um, One, loving yourself enough to set healthy boundaries with the people you also love is very important. Showing people how to treat you. And two, using resources outside of yourself and finding resources outside of yourself to subset all of the work that you would have to do. Um, I want to thank this viewer for sending this letter in to us. And you know what? One, just commend you on showing up for your mom and showing up for your family. And I hear the frustration in the letter. And my only response outside of what TJ and Pia said is tapping into personal power as well. I don't know particularly what is going on with your mother, but if your mother has any ability to support herself, even if it's she can sit up in the bed and take the pills and drink the pills on her own, then maybe you help her to build her own personal power and her confidence of you can take these pills, mom. So I'm going to leave these pills out for you, and you know when to take them, and we can color code them, and we could do a system, and we could do this. Um, and if your mother doesn't have that ability, then tapping into what everybody can do. There are people around you. I heard in the letter, my father doesn't want to cook or clean, and maybe he doesn't like the domesticated roles, but he is a helpmate to your mother if they're together. If that's her husband, he should be there helping in some capacity.
Right.
So I would pull my family together and I'd be like, listen, y'all have been really comfortable with me being number one. I can't be number one anymore. It's one, two, three, four, five. Or I would call the aunties, I'd call the cousins, the whole family. We're going to come together because we all should have some shared responsibility and personal power to support our loved one. And you really then have to set those boundaries and make folks step up into the role. But we hope that we have given you some encouragement. We are sending you love to you and your entire family and your mother. We hope for wellness for your mom and that you get some relief. But don't stop doing for yourself. I love that part in the letter where she says, I'm starting to go to the gym and I'm starting to go to therapy. Don't stop that. Just because your family isn't stepping up don't mean you step down.
Right.
Okay?
Great
Thank you
answer.
for writing in to
Yes.
us.
Thank you.
That was a tough one, y'all.
That
It's
was.
a hard
Listen.
situation to be in,
Yeah, but this is
because
the stuff that makes us human. We do have to care for our
yes,
loved ones.
yes,
We do
especially as they
sometimes feel
age.
burdened by
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So this is the type
definitely.
of stuff that makes us human. Thank you to that viewer for sending that letter in. All right, y'all. We're gonna keep it rolling. We do have something that we want to talk about today. And I kind of got a pit something in the pit of my stomach, but we're gonna lean in. This is gonna be a courageous conversation. So today's topic, we are discussing the incident of Sonya Massey. And for those that don't have context, Pia, I think you have a clip for us, right? You're going to pull up.
Yes, I do. But before I pull up the clip, I just want to, just a little disclaimer. It is a disturbing clip. I'm not going to show the whole clip. I'm going to show part of the clip up to the incident. So I'm only going to
Okay.
show, it's less than a minute. It's like some odd seconds, okay? So
Okay.
let's pull this up. All right.
It's on us. What'd you hear?
Somebody outside my house. Illinois State Police released body cam footage showing the final moments of Sonya Massey's life, a Springfield area woman who was fatally shot by one of the responding deputies to a 911 call she made. Massey called 911 because she thought an intruder was in her home, according to the lawyer representing her family. Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson and another deputy responded to the call around 12:50 a.m., authorities said. The deputies searched the property and found no intruder. The deputies then asked Massey to check on a pot of boiling water on the stove.
Check on her. We don't need a fire while we're here.
Right.
Huh?
Where are you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
Rebuke you in the name of
better not. I swear to God, I'll straight your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop it.
All right.
Did y'all
Yeah,
hear? I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
she said it twice.
She said
No,
it
but that's
twice.
what
Wow.
provoked him.
That is right.
But that is also something that I want to talk about when we delve into this, right? Because you saw the condition of this woman's home, right? And you heard her kind of religious preoccupation, right?
Mhm.
If I were an officer or if I were an individual walking into that home, I would question, is there more going on here? Right? I would question her mental
Mm.
status looking at the home. It looked like she had a lot of things. It was very disorganized. And out the
Mhm.
blue, she just says, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. So I would question, okay, let me use certain skills, certain tactics, because there might be a little bit more going on here. And she called, right, because she thought that there was an intruder, right? There was somebody around or in her
Good point,
property.
Pia.
So some, that there, I personally would think that maybe there's something else going on here than meets the eye. A little paranoia, some religious preoccupation, that usually points to some mental health struggles.
I mean, yeah, says the mental health professional, and I agree with you completely. It was, and I've been following this story, so it has come out, and I don't know the validity of this, but I believe that people are saying she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. I don't know if that's
There we
accurate
go.
or not. However, yes, as mental health professionals, there were telltale signs of some mental disturbance going on. However, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because we already know, and Pia, you and I are both mental health professionals. Police officers do not use those skills. Most police officers, they are trained in de-escalation, but as we know,
They
I'll
don't
just speak from
de-escalate.
my own personal experience of being Black in America and policed as a Black person in America. Police don't often de-escalate, they escalate.
I've never seen the officer de-escalate anything.
Correct. Even though they're supposed to have those skills. Now, I want to point something out because I have been following this case. There were two officers.
Yes.
The officer who fired his firearm did not have his camera on. So the
Nope.
camera footage we're seeing, the body cam footage we're seeing is from his partner who had who had his body cam on the entire time. And the partner was the one who pointed out the pot and asked Sonia to take the pot off of the fire, which she immediately did and put the pot onto the counter. I don't know if y'all saw that in the clip.
Yes.
She did not have the pot in her hand. And then at that point, the cop who shot his weapon laughed, giggled, made some type of sound, and that's what prompted Sonia to say, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," and she said it twice. And that immediately triggered him to say, "You better effing not. I will shoot you in the effing face." That was his exact words. That's where you cut the clip, Pia. I watched the entire clip, and I do not recommend people watch it.
No.
It is traumatic. But I watched the whole thing. At that point, Sonia dropped down to her knees, crouched behind the cabinet with her hands raised. She had nothing in her hands. And then the officer who made that initial statement, initial threat on her life, did exactly what he said he would do. And he fired his weapon and unalived her, basically. Like, that's what we're looking at.
An execution.
An execution. And this woman called the police because she felt that there was an intruder outside of her home.
So, do you think that she was intimidated from the very beginning?
I think that she was if she had a mental health issue, because I don't know. I don't have her diagnosis sitting in front of me. But if she had a mental health issue, or even if not, she felt there was an intruder outside her home and she called law enforcement to come and investigate. When law enforcement got there, I think she felt the energy of that law enforcement officer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yes.
And I felt that she was afraid of him.
I felt like she was afraid of him from the very beginning.
Well, also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tiff.
No, I want to hear your thoughts. Go ahead.
Also, from what I was reading, they spent a lot of time talking to her about a car that was in her driveway that she said was not hers. And when you saw her looking through papers, they had asked her for her driver's license and whatnot. So they spent time on a subject with a person who's saying, "I'm afraid because someone is outside of my house." They zoomed right into, "Let me see your license. Let me see the registration. Whose car is this?" And what,
of which she did not have to provide.
Right.
Exactly. They just deviated from the reason why she even called the police.
And treated her like a criminal.
Something else. Yes, tried to make it into something else.
And how many instances have we seen that?
Right.
The police officers whose duty is to protect and serve us, law-abiding citizens, because there's no proof that she wasn't.
Right. What law did she break? She called them to her house because she felt that there was an intruder outside her home. And I'm going to say it. I'll be the one to say it. Had she been a white woman, she would have been handled with, "Ma'am, miss, we secured the perimeter. We checked. We want you to feel safe. All is well. We didn't see any threat, but you call us if there's an issue. You can call me directly. Here's my card. Here's my badge number." She would have been handled differently had she been not Black. And that's just the point blank period. We get policed differently in this country. And there's so many evidence of Black people reaching out. We have so many evidence, Black people's car breaking down and they call the cops and they end up dead.
Yeah.
Being pulled over for a taillight, they end up dead.
And then we're scrutinized when we handle our own stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, handle it myself or contact the police and die.
There was a case. This was at some point at the top of the year. It might have been last year. A little boy, I think he was about 12 years old, and he called the cops because his mother was in a domestic violence situation. He called 911. The cops came and shot him. Now, he survived, thank God. That young man survived. But he was shot calling the cops to come help his mother in a DV situation. It's repeated offense. And then we have somebody running for the highest office in the land who says that he plans to give police officers immunity.
Project 25? Is that
correct?
Project 25?
Correct. And Trump, and listen, I wish we had that clip pulled up because he said it out of his mouth that he plans to give cops immunity so they can do their job. That was his exact words.
That can't happen.
And what job is that? Execute Black people?
Let's just also say this, right? When we look at, because they always dig into our record, right? When we're the victim, they like to dig into our record and our past. let's dig into this officer's record, right? He
Mm-hmm.
worked at 6 different agencies in 4 different years after being charged twice with a DWI.
He
Now,
shouldn't have
you
been.
tell me, should he have even still been an officer
Of
after
course not.
being charged with DWIs?
Of course not.
And I
You
think
ask
there
me,
was
he's
an
been
issue
doing it.
with him. I think there
And
was an issue with him
he's
in the
been
military.
between that. Oh,
Well, yeah, and I think he had some issues in the past in the military also. Don't quote me on that, but I thought I read something about that also. So this individual has a history of working or operating outside of the law, but yet was allowed to be a part of the law, right? Doesn't make any sense to me. None whatsoever.
I think it makes perfect sense because that's America. I think it
Yeah,
makes perfect sense. Yeah, we're
yeah.
gonna put a badge and a weapon in the hands of someone who doesn't even have enough impulse control not to drive drunk.
look who's
Yeah.
running for president with a
Ex-
felon.
Okay?
Talk about impulse
A
control, right?
35 count felon, a 35 count.
Exactly.
He don't got one felony, he
Oh,
got 35 of them. Okay?
and sexual assault. Let's not leave out the sexual assault, right? We got to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
we gonna
sexual
grab
assault.
him by right.
No,
Okay.
the recent sexual assault charges that they had that he was
Oh.
convicted on, right? So we talk about impulse control with certain
And there is
people
none.
in this society. Exactly. There is none. But let's take it back. There's a history of certain people not having impulse control when you go back to slavery,
Of
right?
course.
And how we were treated, how we were beat, right? There's a history of violence, a history of not being able to manage their emotions, having poor impulse control, right? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree when we talk about ancestry.
Of course not. There was a law that they created to protect white women from killing enslaved children because they were doing it so often that they created a law that gave them immunity from killing enslaved children. I mean, the whole policing system of America was created on the shoulders of slave catchers. That's the whole structure of policing in America. If you talk about history, it's always been a racist practice. It's always been a practice that's been geared towards keeping us in line, not protecting us. And then when I see comments on social media like, oh, well, fine, when somebody breaks into your home, don't call the cops then. We won't, because we probably end up shot in the face.
And then they want to take our right to bear arms.
Right. That's what I say. That honestly, listen, I never ever want to step a toe into politics. But if I did, if I was running for anything, the first thing I would do on my campaign was get every single black and brown person who could legally register to own a gun registered and own a gun. Not because I believe in the power of the gun. I actually hate guns and I think guns should be abolished. But if black folks started getting licensed and became registered gun owners, do you know the type of reform that would happen in this country?
But
You know how hard it would be to get a gun then?
they will never let that happen.
Exactly.
They won't let that happen. But ladies, let me ask you this. We're talking about the issue once again. Another, black body is unalived at the hands of
Police.
officers that are supposed
Correct.
to protect and serve. What is the solution? What do we do? Because I mean, we have the body cameras. The guy didn't have his body camera on, and they purposefully don't put the body camera on. We talk about training, right? Police officers, they spent pumped millions of dollars into these police stations for reform and training. So they have the training, they still don't utilize it, right? What do we do? They talked about at one point sending out mental health professionals with police officers. I'm not too confident about that either because that puts unnecessary people in danger. And as a
Correct.
as
And
a
at
licensed
risk.
mental health clinician, I cannot in that moment stop an officer from
doing anything. Correct.
especially if the officer already has it in its mind. This is a black or brown person, so this is how I have to treat them. So what is the answer?
Maybe they could put maybe they could put place mental health clinicians on call. Like in the federal system or in any jail system, they have officers, but they're counselors. But you're still considered an officer because you work in a jail, right? So maybe if they had a mental health professional on staff, on call, or in the precinct, or wherever they are housed. I'm imagining that, say, for instance, they come across someone like Miss Macy, excuse me, who's displaying signs, right? They're properly trained to see, okay, this is what you look for. And so then they reach out to the mental health professional who then would able to come to be able to step in and properly assess to provide next steps. I mean,
I like that idea.
I like that idea. And
go ahead, Pia.
Oh, so I'm sorry. And I was thinking more when you said mental health professionals in the precincts to watch the police officers for signs of stress, anxiety, depression, right? To flag and target those police officers that are at higher risk for PTSD, right? Because those are the police officers that are going out in the street and they are reacting, right, from their trauma and shooting first, asking questions later. So if we are in the stations, right, we can flag. I think this person should not be on the streets. They need some counseling. Let's take them off, until they get the help that they need. That's an
excellent idea, and I think it would work.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm thinking about our country, and what makes sense in our country is dollars and cents. I think police officers should be personally liable for any death that they cause while they're on the job.
Yeah.
I think they should be required to pay for personal liability insurance. I think their assets should be threatened if they kill somebody on the job, and if after investigation it is found that they are culpable and responsible for that death, oh honey, you paying out of pocket. It shouldn't be the police force. It should be every single cop should have their own liability attached to their job. Like we, as mental health professionals, Pia, you're a licensed mental health professional. Don't you have to have liability insurance?
At least
if you cause harm as a therapist, you have to be insured for that. A cosmetologist, somebody I go to get my makeup done, they have to have business license and they have to have business insurance. Because if they cause harm, if I go get a perm and somebody burns my hair out, they need to be insured for the damage that they've caused onto my hair. Why is it that we live in a country that is trying to figure out ways to give cops immunity from these crimes instead of holding them personally responsible? If I know that I can lose my house, I could lose my child's college tuition, I could lose all of my pension, I could lose everything that I worked for on this force for all of these years. If I take somebody out, I'm not going to take them out. I might still be a raging bigot. I might still be racist, but I'm not going to end somebody's life because I know that that could end my life. Because they're not afraid to be held criminally responsible because we see how they get acquitted. So we understand that the legal system sides with the policing system.
Yes.
But if they know, if I take somebody out, that I have to be financially responsible for that, I think that would curb a lot of these incidents.
And even before they become unalived. If you have any incidents where people are being hurt.
Correct.
Also, it should be considered a hate crime. When at this point with all of these murders, why is it a hate crime with Asians?
It's the Hasidic population,
the LGBT community, with the Jewish community, but with Black people, everything is just going over everybody's head. This should be considered a hate crime, especially after this murder.
Anti-Blackness is the most universal thing there is.
You kill a Black person, it's a hate crime, especially if you don't have any.
Should be.
Cop or not.
Well, when an officer says, "I will pow you in the effing head," your job is to protect and to serve. I called you here to protect me, and you threatened to unalive me by powing me in the head. He needs to go straight to jail. Don't pass go. Right? If we were playing Monopoly, he would just go straight to jail. It just really, and people are trying to justify this.
Oh,
Just like
absolutely.
they've tried to justify all the other incidents in the past, there's no justification.
Right.
Well,
A pot of boiling water is what caused, according to the internet, the interwebs. Oh, well, she was threatening him with the water. He felt
She
threatened.
didn't. She
how?
didn't.
The water was on the counter and she was crouched down with her hands raised in the video.
She rebuked him.
And
Rebuked
she
She
him.
said, I'm
rebuked him.
That's
sorry.
what he did.
The very last words, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm
And
sorry.
she was
I'm sorry.
crouching down, afraid
She
for
did
her
say, I'm
life.
sorry.
And then, wait, I forgot this important part. They tried to cover up the incident. They told
Yes.
the family
Yes, they did.
initially that she committed suicide.
Yes, they said it was a self-inflicted wound. Yes. Yes.
They tried to cover
They
it
sure
up.
did. They sure did.
So it brings me back to our first point. Was Sonya really suffering mentally, or did she have a reason to be paranoid? Did she really have a reason? Because I don't live in Illinois, right? We live in New York City. In New York City, this kind of stuff doesn't happen too often because I didn't say it
It
doesn't
happens
happen.
enough.
There's
Yeah.
so many cameras everywhere, right? The street camera, the house camera, the car cameras. But deep in the woods and wherever they were in Illinois, I'm sure that's a common thing, which is why this officer felt so comfortable to be able to do that. He wanted to
Yeah,
get away with that.
he
What
did.
what if that body cam wasn't on?
Hmm.
And
It would have been another life lost
with no proof.
with no proof.
And another thing is like body cams should not be something that's optional.
Optional. Thank you.
It's
Exactly.
not
On
supposed
any
to
call.
be. It's
On
not
any
supposed
call,
to be, but
in
police
any
officers violate that.
All the time.
and then
And that's my thing. Personal liability.
hold them accountable. Doc pay. That's duty.
Yeah.
You go on a call and you don't have your body cam on, that should be taken very seriously.
I agree.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't shoot Sonya and his wording was I'll shoot you in your effing face. That should be taken seriously.
Exactly. Because how are you protecting and serving? And that is what
Yeah.
you say to me. I don't have anything to injure you. I don't have anything to harm you other than this pot of hot water that I have placed down that is not in my hands. And you're saying that you were going to shoot me in my face. And it's not malicious. It's not malicious intent. It wasn't intentional.
It's serious. It's important.
Premeditated.
It's important for us to
Premeditated.
know. Oh.
It's premeditated.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Go ahead, Tiff. You were saying it's important for us to know what?
I think it's important for us to realize that this is like a escalated thing. Like it doesn't start like this. Right? It's because we're not holding them accountable from the small actions. There's no reason for if police officers are held accountable on a small scale, making minor infractions, then it wouldn't become murder. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, I don't know, ladies, because I think first of all, this is a mouthful, and we can continue to talk about this as the day is long. But for me, because right now, I'm physically feeling it. Like I got a pressure headache just by talking about this because I am so emotionally exhausted from seeing us slaughtered. That's how I feel. I feel like they're slaughtering Black people. And then I feel very fearful as a Black woman who's raising a Black woman who loves Black women, Black people in general. I feel fearful for the day that I may tell my child, if something's wrong, call 911, and that may be the last time I hear from my child because she can call 911 and be unalived.
Mm-hmm.
So as a mother, I fear for my child growing up in a world where this is the norm. And honestly, this has become the norm of American policing. And it's like, what do we do? How do we deal with this? What do we do? For our viewers that are sitting here feeling like I'm feeling, what would y'all say to them?
We want to hear it in the comments. We would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
We get some suggestions, right? But there's only 3 of us. Maybe there's some more suggestions that you might think of that might be able to help us. We've been rallying. We've been coming together. And I'm proud of Black people. I'm proud of our culture. I'm proud of the steps that we've taken. But we still have a lot. We have a lot to
go.
There's a lot of work to be done.
What do you do personally to deal with this, TJ? How do you personally still be okay with all of this? What do you do? to keep yourself okay?
I'm big on meditation. So for me, I have to separate. I have to turn the noise off. I have to breathe. I'm also in therapy, right? If there are things that I feel like I can't handle, I shut it off. We're responsible for what we download into our minds. And so for me, I didn't see the whole clip. I saw what we had to see because I knew we were going to talk about it on the show. But I don't want to see because I know my mental capacity. So I don't want to expose myself to that. I'm very sorry about what happened to Sonia. If there's anything that I could do, I want to be involved. If there's any opportunity that anybody knows about, I'm open. I want to be front line on this because it's not acceptable.
Yeah. Kia, what do you do to be personally okay in times like
Well, I
this?
I feel like for me, sometimes it's a double-edged sword, right? Because
Uh-huh.
I can turn off and turn the TV off and not watch it, not engage in social media and in the news, which is what I do have to do sometimes. However, I see clients, and so my clients come to me, with feelings about these things. So even if I can only turn off but so much. I still have to be on. I still have to be educated about what's going on in order to talk to them about it and process it with them. So I've learned how to compartmentalize,
Mm,
how to, when I'm with them, I'm on. Soon as I log off, I'm, back to my detox, whether it's the news, whether it's the social media. I also participated in therapy throughout the years, even
mm-hmm.
before I was a therapist, while I'm a therapist. I have hobbies that I really enjoy, and I make sure I participate in those hobbies.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm a creative, so I'm gonna write about this as I've done with most incidents that impact me emotionally. I'm a poet, so I write and I use my words as my form of revolution. And also being in community and being around love, knowing that love still exists even in a very dark and ugly world sometimes. So surrounding myself in safe spaces with safe people and safe faces. And I do unplug from the social media world and from the news world when it feels overwhelming. I just turn it off and don't consume it. Um, this was a heavy topic, ladies. Thank y'all for talking about it. Thank y'all for leaning in. And of course, this is a topic that, unfortunately, for right now, is an ongoing topic. But we want to send our prayers and our love and our support to
Yes.
Sonia's family, to anybody who's impacted by this, anybody who's impacted by violence. We want to send our love and our prayers to you. Pia, let us bring us
Yes.
to a good space. How are we going to
Definitely,
end today,
definitely.
Pia?
So we are going to introduce a new weekly segment, and it's going to be called Weekly Wisdoms. All right, and Weekly Wisdoms is just a short segment where we'll explore kind of our personal thoughts that invite us to kind of reflect on ourselves, our shared humanity, and the dignity that we all possess, right? Because that's what makes us human, right?
Mhm.
And these thoughts and these words, where they're created by us to purposefully kind of design to make people think about who they are, how they connect with one another, and how we connect with the world. So our hope is that these words will inspire people, they'll challenge them, and they'll just remind them of the incredible journey that we all share as humans, and what makes us human. So,
Okay.
Tiffany, do you want to give us our first kind of weekly wisdom?
Sure. It's a quote that I wrote some time ago. Having a checkered past has nothing to do with having a glorious future.
Mm,
And so, with dedication to Miss Sonia, your death won't be in vain just because this has been happening for decades and over 400 years, right? Um, it doesn't have to continue to happen. We can have a glorious future as Black people and be in
yes.
community, love, honoring one another, and protecting one another most importantly.
Mm-hmm. Powerful.
Yeah, you want to give us yours next?
Sure. My weekly wisdom for this week is the relationship that you will be in the longest is the relationship with yourself. You're going to always have yourself. So make sure that that relationship is the relationship that you spend the most work on. Make that your
Yeah.
best relationship. That's my weekly wisdom.
That was
That's
powerful.
beautiful. Yes.
Thank you.
So my quote is, every time we understand and forgive, we touch the deepest part of our shared humanity, which reminds us that we're all in this together, right?
Mm.
And I thought about that in looking at what's going on in the world and politics, and hearing some of the rhetoric, and just hopefully we have now a candidate who can unite us and remind us that we're all in this together, and we need to listen and understand each other.
Yes. All right. Listen, powerful stuff today, ladies. Thank y'all, as always, for who you are, what you do, your spirit, your energy. Thank you, TJ. Thank you, Pia. And thank you to our viewers who watch, who support What Makes Us Human podcast. We appreciate you. Listen, if you got an idea for a show topic, if you want to be a guest on the show, or if you got a Dear Auntie letter that you want us to read right here on our show, please email us at whatmakesushumанpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us all on our social medias, and it'll be in the description below. We love y'all for real. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon. Bye.